Hi, my name is Paul Offit. I'm talking to you today, June the 2nd, from the Vaccine Education Center here at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Dr. Constantopoulos has asked me to say a few words at the beginning of this, the Hellenic Pediatrics Society meeting, and it's my honor to do that. What he wanted me to talk about, at least briefly, was sort of some of the vaccine safety issues that we deal with in our country and frankly are dealt with throughout the world. And so I thought I'd focus on the two big ones. The first one is that people are concerned that children are getting too many vaccines too soon, and that that's somehow weakening or overwhelming or perturbing their immune systems. But here's here's the way that we try and answer that in our country. When you're in the womb, you're in a sterile environment. When you enter the birth canal and then the world, you're not. And very quickly you have living on the surface of your body trillions of bacteria, literally trillions of bacteria. We actually have about 100 trillion bacteria on the surface of our body. That's more than we have cells in our body. We have about 10 trillion cells in our body. So we have about 10 times more bacteria on the surface of our bodies than we have cells in our body, to which we make an immune response. An adult human will make about 5 grams of secretory immunoglobulin A every day to try and make sure that those bacteria stay at mucosal surfaces. Now, each bacterium has, depending on where it is, upper respiratory tract bacteria or an enteric bacteria, anywhere between 2,000 and 6,000 immunological components. And by immunological component, I mean here a bacterial polysaccharide or a bacterial protein. Now, if you add up all the immunological components that we give in this country in the 14 different vaccines that children get in the first few years of life, it only adds up to about 160 immunological components. That's it. So the notion that vaccines could somehow overwhelm the immune system from an immunological standpoint is just fanciful. So I think we can certainly handle that level of immunological challenge easily. The second issue that comes up in our country is the concern that vaccines cause autism. Now, that's sort of taken many different turns. It started really in the late 1990s with a publication by Dr. Andrew Wakefield in the British journal The Lancet, claiming that the combination measles, mumps, rubella vaccine caused autism. Dr. Wakefield's hypothesis, for which he had frankly not a shred of evidence, was that by combining the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines into a single shot, that had somehow weakened the immune system, allowing measles vaccine virus to reproduce itself at the intestinal mucosal surface, which then somehow allowed for the entry of these encephalopathic or brain-damaging proteins, which would then travel to the central nervous system in the brain and cause autism. Now, there was no evidence for this. This was just an association. All he really found was that there were children in England who had received the vaccine, that within a month of getting that vaccine had evidence for autism. But remember, at that time in England, about 1 in 2,000 children had autism, and roughly 90% of the population got MMR vaccine. So really, if you just statistically look at that, every year in England, about 300 children should have gotten signs and symptoms of autism following receipt of that vaccine, unless the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine prevented autism, which it doesn't. It only prevents measles, mumps, and rubella infections. So what he was saying was statistically something that had to happen. But that, fortunately, is an answerable question. He basically asked a scientific question that can be answered in a scientific venue and has been answered. You just look at large numbers of children who either did or didn't receive the MMR vaccine to see whether the incidence of autism is greater in a vaccinated group. And it wasn't. So now we know that MMR vaccine didn't cause autism. Then this sort of hypothesis shifted. It became that not the MMR vaccine, but rather thimerosal, this ethyl mercury containing preservative in vaccines, caused autism. This also was an answerable question, and frankly easily answered, because there were a lot of natural experiments out there. Western Europe had basically taken thimerosal out of vaccine by 1991. In Canada, there were provinces that used a full component of thimerosal containing vaccines, whereas provinces right next to those provinces used the same vaccines that didn't contain thimerosal. In the United States, we basically took thimerosal out of vaccines given to infants or young infants by 1999-2000. So it was very easy to see whether or not you were at greater risk of having autism or neurodevelopmental delays if you'd received thimerosal containing vaccines compared to if you haven't. And again, not surprisingly, 7 studies have shown that you're at no greater risk of autism or neurodevelopmental delays if you got thimerosal containing vaccines than if you didn't. Then the hypothesis shifted one more time. It became that children were just getting too many vaccines too soon. Now, there have been 2 studies looking at children who received the full complement of recommended vaccines as compared to those who received just 1 or 2 vaccines in the first few years of life. And again, there's no association between that and autism. So I think we can say comfortably that the science has shown us that vaccines don't cause autism. I think the science has shown us that vaccines don't weaken or overwhelm the immune system. Those are the 2 big questions we get asked here at our Vaccine Education Center, and hopefully those answers will help you. In any case, enjoy your conference. Sorry I'm not there, and good luck. Thank you.